Transport across cell membrane. Substances move through the cell membrane by 1. Passive transport. 2. Active transport. Passive transport does not require energy from the cell. Moves downhill with the concentration of gradient of 3 types. 1. Simple diffusion, osmosis, and facilitated diffusion. Active transport requires energy to occur. Moves uphill against the concentration gradient of 2 types. These are exocytosis and endocytosis. Transport across cell membrane. The diagram looks like this. Active transport requires energy, or ATP transport requires energy or ATP transport substances against their concentration gradient. Carrier protein is involved, important for nerve impulse transmission of 2 types. 1. Exocytosis. 2. Endocytosis. Phagocytosis. Pinocytosis. Active transport continues. Exocytosis. The expulsion of particles from the cell. The process of vesicles fusing with the plasma membrane and releasing their contents to the outside of the cell. This process is common when a cell produces substances for export. Endocytosis. Surrounding and engulf Hg particles. The capture of a substance outside the cell when the plasma membrane merges to engulf it. The substance subsequently enters the cytoplasm, enclosed in vesicles of 2 kinds, phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Phagocytosis, cellular eating, occurs when the dissolved materials enter the cell. The plasma membrane engulfs the solid material, forming a phagocytic vesicle. 2. Pinocytosis, cellular drinking, occurs when the plasma membrane folds inward to form a channel, allowing dissolved substances to enter the cell. When the channel is closed, the liquid is encircled within a pinocytic vesicle. Transport of materials into and out of cells. Transport process description. Substances transported. Passive transport description is movement of substance down a concentration gradient until equilibrium is reached. Do not require cellular energy in the form of ATP. Movement of a substance by kinetic energy down a concentration gradient until equilibrium is reached. Diffusion, simple diffusion, passive movement of a substance through the lipid bilayer of the plasma membrane. Substance transported, lipid soluble molecules, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen gases, fatty acids, arteroids, steroids, and fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K. Polar molecules, water and urea. Facilitated diffusion, passive movement of a substance down its concentration gradient, aided aided by ion channels and carriers. Substance transporter, potassium, chlorine, sodium, calcium, glucose, fructose, galactose, and some vitamins, water. Osmosis. A movement of water molecules across a selectively permeable membrane from an area of higher water concentration to an area of lower water concentration. Transport substances, water. Active processes, a movement of substance against a concentration gradient requires cellular energy in the form of ATP. Active transport is transport in which cell expends energy to move a substance across the membrane against its concentration gradient, aided by membrane proteins that act as pumps. These integral membrane proteins use energy supplied by ATP. Substances transported are sodium, potassium, calcium, hydrogen, I, and oxygen, Ci, and other ions. Transport in vesicles, movement of substance into or out of a cell in vesicles that but from the plasma membrane requires energy supplied by ATP. Endocytosis, phagocytosis, movement of substance into a cell in vesicles, cell eating, movement of a solid particle into a cell after pseudopods. Engulf it. Oh, he said, I can't tell you. Anas, we can't afford it. Substance transporter are bacteria, virus, and aged or dead cells. Build phase endocytosis, cell drinking movement of extracellular fluid into a cell by unfolding of plasma membrane. Transport substances, solutes in extracellular fluid. Exocytosis, movement of substance out of a cell in secretory vesicles that fuse with the plasma membrane and release their contents into the extracellular fluid. Substance transported are neurotransmitters, hormones, and 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 digestive digestive enzymes. Transport of human body. The transport of materials in diagrams looks like this. Composition of human body. The approximate composition of an average adult human per body weight is that water 60%, proteins 18%, fats 15%, minerals 7%. Body fluid and electrolytes. Body fluid refers to the body water and its dissolved substances. Comprise an average of 60% of total body weight. The total body weight water in average adult is 42 liter, 28 liter in the ICF, 14 liter in the ECF. 80% or 11 liter of ECF is found in the interstitial space and called interstitial fluid. 20% or 3 liter is localized in the vascular system in the form of plasma and called intravascular fluid. The diagrams looks like this. Summary of body fluid regulation, including the major body fluid compartments and the membranes that separate these compartments. The values shown are for an average 70 kilogram per son. Potential spaces containing body fluids: lymph in the lymphatic vessels, cerebrospinal fluid (CSF) in the brain ventricles and central canal of the spinal cord, synovial fluid in the joints, interocular fluids, aqueous humor, and vitreous body in the eye, endolymph and perilymph in the inner ears, pleural and pericardial peritoneal fluids, glomerular filter in the body. Body fluid functions: transportation, waste removal, protection. Example: CSF, amniotic fluids, synovial fluid, and the thick media for cellular metabolism. Regulate body temperature. Sample source for experiment. Dissolve nutrients. Digestion and absorption requires fluid medium. Factors affecting total body water. Age. Infants have the highest amount of water, up to 75% of body weight. The percentage decreases with age. Obesity, since fat is basically free of water. Young people have a greater proportion of water than fat people. Gender or sex: adult males have relatively greater proportion of water than female, since females have more subcutaneous fat than female. Fluid intake and output are balanced during steady state conditions. The relative constancy of the body fluid is remarkable because there is continuous exchange of fluid and solids with the external environment as well as within different compartments of the body. There is a highly variable fluid intake that must be carefully matched by equal output from the body to prevent body fluid volumes from increasing or decreasing. Daily intake of water. Water is added to the body by two major sources. One, ingested in the form of liquid or water in the food, which together normally add about 2100 ml per day to the body fluids. Two, synthesized in the body as result of oxidation of carbohydrates, adding about 200 ml per day. This provides a total water intake of about 2300 ml per day. Intake of water, however, is highly variable among different people and even within the same person on different days, depending on climate, habits, and the level of physical activity. Daily intake and output of water ml per day in steady state water intake equals to water loss. This chart shows that intake normal, prolonged, heavy exercise. Intake fluids ingested or drinking per in food. Normal 2100, prolonged heavy exercise 7200. From metabolism 200. Total intake 2300. Prolonged normal is 2300, then prolonged heavy exercise 7. Output insensible skin 350. Prolonged heavy exercise 350. Insensible lungs 350. Prolonged heavy exercise 650. Sweet normally 100. Prolonged heavy exercise 5000. Physics normally 100. Prolonged heavy exercise 100. Urine normally 1400. Prolonged heavy exercise 500. Total output normal 2300. Prolonged heavy exercise 6600. Insensible water loss. Some of the water losses cannot be precisely regulated. There is a continuous loss of water by evaporation from the respiratory tract and diffusion through the skin, which together account for about 700 ml per day of water loss under normal conditions. This is termed as insensible water loss because we are not consciously aware of it, even though it occurs continually in all living humans. What are electrolytes? Any substances that contains free ions that behaves as an electrically conductive medium or conducts electricity. All higher forms of life cannot exist without electrolytes, and that includes humans. In our bodies, electrolytes include sodium, potassium, calcium, bicarbonates, magnesium, chloride, hydrogen, phosphate, and hydrogen carbonate. And electrolytes continue. Electrolytes regulate nerve and muscle function, body's hydration, blood pH, blood pressure, the rebuilding of damaged tissue. Various mechanisms exist in our body that keep the concentrations of different electrolytes under strict control. Our muscles and the neurons are thought of as electric tissues of the body, activated by electrolyte activity between ECF and ICF. A muscle contraction needs calcium, sodium, and potassium to be present. If levels of vital electrolytes are wrong, the muscles either become too weak or their contractions are too severe. Our heart, muscle, and nerve cells use electrolytes to maintain voltage across their cell membranes to carry electrical impulses across themselves and to other cells. The level of an electrolyte in the blood can become too high or too low. Body electrolyte levels tend to change when levels in the body change. When our level of hydration is altered, electrolyte levels are kept constant by our kidneys and various hormones, even when our bodies trigger changes. When we exercise, we sweat and lose electrolytes, mainly sodium and potassium. To maintain electrolyte concentrations of our body fluids constant, these electrolytes must be replaced. Fresh fruits and vegetables are good for the sodium and potassium and replace lost electrolytes. Excess electrolyte levels in our body out by our kidney. Cause of electrolyte imbalances. Kidney disease, prolonged vomiting, severe dehydration, acid or base pH imbalance, bulimia, eating and purging meals, eating disorder, severe and persistent vomiting and nausea during pregnancy. Symptoms of electrolyte imbalance depend on which electrolyte is out of balance and whether that level is too high or low. Altered level of magnesium, sodium, potassium, or calcium may produce one or more of the following symptoms. These are NS disorder, twitching, muscle spasm, fatigue, lethargy, irregular heartbeat, BP changes, bone disorders. Physiological reserve, the ability of body organ system to increase their function per body demand. Example, respiratory rate during exercise, heart rate during exercise, cardiac output during exercise. Thank you.